Welcome to e-learning course on Applied Thermodynamics, module Vapor Power Cycles, session Rankine Cycle. Myself Ramesh Bihar, Assistant Professor in the Department of Mechanical Engineering, Jain Institute of Technology, Davangere. Rankine Cycle. Rankine cycle is a modification of Carnot cycle on which steam engine works. Rankine cycle is the ideal cycle for power generation. So, we make use of a line diagram, PV diagram, TS and HS diagram for brief description of the different processes of Rankine cycle. The first process is named as reversible adiabatic expansion process, which can also be called as isentropic expansion process. During this process, the dry saturated vapor leaving the boiler enters the turbine at condition 1. You can observe in your PV diagram as well as TS HS diagram. This is point 1. So, this curve represents a dry saturated curve, and above this curve the region is called as superheated region. So, below this curve is called as the region which is wet region. So, now the condition 1 is on dry saturated vapor line. So, the condition of the steam at condition 1 is dry saturated, where it expands isentropically to a low pressure and temperature through the turbine, producing work, and the condition after expansion is point number 2. The work done during the turbine or the work produced by the turbine is given by enthalpy difference, that is H1 minus H2. H1 represents enthalpy before expansion and H2 represents enthalpy after expansion. So, we can also observe 3 lines here on PV diagram as well as TS and HS diagram. Point 1 represents for dry saturated steam. If the condition of the steam is dry saturated, the expansion takes place from point 1 to point 2. If the condition of the steam is superheated before the turbine, that is at point 1, the expansion takes place from 1 double dash to 2 double dash, similarly on HS as well as TS diagram. If the condition of the steam before expansion is wet, so expansion follows the line 1 dash and 2 dash. So, here the point 1, 1 dash and 1 double dash are based on the condition of the steam which is entering the turbine. So, based on that, the respective PV diagram, TS and HS diagram has to be used. But the work output of the turbine in all these cases is given by the enthalpy difference of initial state to the final state. So, here we have written it for dry saturated steam and it is given by H1 minus H2. If it is a superheated steam, this becomes H1 double dash minus H2 double dash. Similarly, if you are written for wet steam, it becomes H1 dash minus H2 dash. Ultimately, the turbine work is based on the difference of initial enthalpy of steam to final enthalpy of the steam. The next process is 2-3, which is constant pressure heat rejection process. So, it takes place from point number 2 to point number 3 through a condenser. There will be a cooling medium provided through the condenser which absorbs heat from the working substance, means heat is rejected from working substance to a cooling medium. The initial condition depends on either the steam is a dry saturated, superheated or a wet steam. Based on that, the condition number 2 or 2 dash or 2 double dash will be taken, and the heat rejection process through the condenser takes place from point 2 to point 3 and the process ends at point 3. The process is a constant pressure heat rejection process and the amount of heat rejected is given by H2 minus H3. So, here H2 represents initial enthalpy before going through the condenser and H3 represents after the condensation process, that is after undergoing cooling process. So, the difference between these two will give the heat rejected, and if you interchange these two terms you are going to get a negative sign, and negative sign is going to represent the heat rejected. Here we have avoided negative sign by taking H2 minus H3. Next is the third process, reversible adiabatic compression process carried out from point 3 to point 4. It is an isentropic process, so heat transfer will be 0, but compression takes place. So, compression is carried out from point number 3 to point number 4. The condition of working substance at point 3 will be saturated liquid, and this saturated liquid is compressed to a condition that is point 4, and the work done for this case is given by H4 minus H3, that is final enthalpy minus initial enthalpy, and the kind of work here is a pump work because we cannot compress a liquid. So, we have to transfer working substance from one point to another point. So, we make use of the pump, and pump is a device which is used to create movement for fluids, and pressure will not be changed here, only velocity is going to get changed, and work is given by H4 minus H3 in this case, and the pressure is increased using a feed pump from boiler pressure, from condenser pressure to boiler pressure, that is from PC. This is PC condenser pressure and this is boiler pressure. So, pressure is increased from condenser pressure to boiler pressure, pressure increases, as a result temperature also increases slightly, which is negligible, and we can also find out pump work using the expression Vf3 multiplied by Pb minus Pc. So, using this expression also we can find out the pump work. And the last process is heat supply at constant pressure. So, heat supply is carried out using a boiler. A sensible heating of water from 4 to 5 may take place. You can observe in your HS diagram. So, this is 4 and this point is the intersecting point of this P1 pressure line, and the saturated liquid line is the 0.5. So, a sensible heating of water may take place. So, sensible heating means, so it is amount of heat which is supplied to any working substance. So, increase in temperature takes place, but phase change does not take place. So, sensible heating of water from 4 to 5 may take place either in a economizer or in a special feed heater, which is not shown here. And finally, evaporation takes place from 0.5 to 1 or 1 dash or 1 double dash, it depends on the condition of the steam required. So, evaporation takes place and the saturated liquid gets converted into vapor, or it may be a dry vapor or a wet vapor or a saturated vapor, and this takes place in a boiler, and heat supplied during this process is given by H1 minus H4, that is sensible heating plus latent heat is considered. So, we are going to write heat supplied as H1 minus H4, and this is the expression which is used to determine the heat supply at constant pressure. and the process of heating is maintained constant. You can see here, this is a constant pressure line and it is a boiler pressure. So, now we see the one of the performance parameter, which is a thermal efficiency. So, thermal efficiency is given by net work done by heat added. Net work done can be written as heat added minus heat rejected, or heat supplied minus heat rejected over heat supplied. So, from the expressions what we have gone through in the previous slides, we can write it as 1 minus H2 minus H3 over 1 H1 minus H4. So, and this is the expression which is used to find out the thermal efficiency of a Rankine cycle. So, here in the next slide we see that comparison of Carnot and Rankine cycle. So, figure shows the superimposed TS diagram of Carnot and Rankine cycle operating between the same boiler and condenser temperatures. So, note that the pump work being small is neglected and hence not shown in the diagram. So, we have neglected the pump work because it is very small. So, here between same temperature limits. So, these are the two temperature limits. This is a maximum temperature limit and this is a minimum temperature limit. The Rankine cycle provides higher specific power output than the Carnot cycle. So, here we can first identify the cycle. See 0.1, 0.2, 0.5 and 4 represents a Carnot cycle. The cycle 1, 2, 3, 4 and 1 represents a Rankine cycle. Okay. So, if you measure the area under 1, 2, 5 and 4, which is a area of the Carnot cycle, and if you measure the area 1, 2, 3, 4 and 1, which is the area of the Rankine cycle, which is a modified Carnot cycle, the specific work output is more for Rankine cycle because the area is more. So, the net work output or the specific work output is more when compared to Carnot cycle. In Carnot cycle, the entire heat input takes place at maximum constant temperature. See, in Carnot cycle, the heat supply takes place from 0.4 to 1 and the pressure is constant and it is a maximum temperature in the cycle. However, in Rankine cycle, heat input does not takes place at maximum cycle temperature. It starts from point number 3 till 4 and then from 4 to 1. So, 3 to 4 will be sensible heating and then 4 to 1 will be latent heating. So, heat addition takes place at different temperatures, not only at the maximum temperature. The temperature during sensible heating is much lower and continuously changing. So, sensible heat, the definition itself says as you go on heat there is an increase in temperature. So, no phase change, then you will call it as a sensible heating. So, here obviously there will be a continuous change in the temperature happens during the sensible heating. Due to this, lowers the average temperature of the total heat supplied. So, it is what we can observe here, it lowers or the value of average temperature is very less for total heat supplied during the Rankine cycle. So, accordingly Rankine efficiency lowers and hence Carnot efficiency is greater than Rankine efficiency. So, this is a comparison what you can make. So, based on this, the last point what we can finally conclude, the efficiency of Carnot cycle is greater than the efficiency of Rankine cycle. So, next we see the effect of pressure and temperature on Rankine cycle performance. So, the first case here is effect of condenser pressure. So, you can also name this one as exhaust pressure. So, condenser pressure can also be called as exhaust pressure. So, from TS and PV diagram it is clear that decrease in condenser pressure from PC to PC1, you can notice in here, this is PC1 initial. So, we are going to reduce the condenser pressure and we are going to discuss what is the effect we will come across in a Rankine cycle. So, initially the condenser pressure is PC, now we are going to reduce this condenser pressure to PC1. The area of the diagram increases, you can see initially the area of the diagram is 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. Due to decrease in condenser pressure, the area has been increased from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to 1, 2 dash, 3 dash, 4 dash, 5 and 1. So, this area represents the increase in work done by the turbine. So, if you reduce the condenser pressure, so it is clearly we can say that if you decrease the condenser pressure, we can clearly say that increase in turbine work takes place, and hence thermal efficiency increases. If output is increased, obviously efficiency of the cycle will also increases. However, decreasing condenser pressure is limited by temperature corresponding to condenser cooling temperature. So, normally the decrease in temperature of a condenser is very important, temperature as well as pressure, because there is a limitation of temperature of a cooling medium which is used in the condenser, right. So, next is the second effect, that is effect of boiler pressure. So, once again we will make use of a TS diagram as well as PV diagram. So, it is clear that by seeing the TS diagram, increase in boiler pressure takes place from PB to PB1. So, boiler pressure has been increased from PB to PB1, that is initially the cycle was 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5 and 1. Now, the due to increase in boiler pressure, the area becomes 1 dash, 2 dash, 3, 4 dash, 5 dash and 1. So, what is happening here? It results in an increase in saturation temperature from T1 to T1 dash. So, saturation temperature increases, hence more heat is contained in the steam, and when this steam expands in the turbine from T1 dash to T2. So, expansion takes place normally from point 1 to 2 in a turbine. So, if more heat is contained, more work is available through the turbine, because expansion is more. Hence, we can conclude that efficiency of the cycle increases as the boiler pressure increased. And the next effect is effect of superheat. It is clear that superheating increases average temperature in which heat is added to the cycle. So, superheating is this point 1, I already said that. So, the curve represents the saturation line, above this it is a superheated region. So, now the 1 dash point is in superheated region. So, 1 represents dry saturated. So, now it is clear that superheating increases the average temperature. So, the average temperature of the working substance has been increased from T1 to T1 dash. And the heat expansion will be more. You can see here the expansion takes place from 1 to 2 in dry saturated case, but if it is a superheated case, the expansion has been increased from 1 dash to 2 dash. So, the length of expansion is more. So, for this reason we can say that increase in cycle efficiency will take place due to effect of superheat. If you take any working substance to superheated condition from a dry saturated condition, we can simply say that there is an increase in cycle efficiency because of this reason. Superheating also increases the quality of steam leaving the turbine by decreasing the moisture content. You can observe in the horizontal line here. So, the quality of steam. So, the region under this curve represents the wet region. So, here you can observe. So, the point 3 represents the liquid state and this point represents the saturated vapor state. So, anywhere in between these regions represents the wet region, that is, it may be combination of liquid as well as vapor. So, if the point is nearer to 3, we can say that the state of the liquid, the state of the substance is nearer to liquid. If we see here, which is nearer to this point, we can say that the state of the substance is nearer to vapor. So, the quality of a substance, working substance, is measured based on the amount of vapor present in it. Here, the amount of vapor present is more when compared to point 2. So, that is why superheating also increases the quality of the steam leaving the turbine by decreasing the moisture content. So, moisture content means the wet content, the liquid content is very less when compared to dry saturated steam. However, material property limit the superheating temperature. So, expansion takes place in a turbine. So, the material of the turbine should withstand the temperature of the superheating. There are certain limitations in selecting the materials for turbines. So, that limitation will impose a limit on superheating of the steam. Next is actual power cycle, and the TS diagram is going to represent both ideal as well as actual vapor power cycle, which is a Rankine vapor power cycle. Point 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 1 represents ideal Rankine cycle. 1, 2 dash, 3, 4 dash, 5, 6 and 1 represents actual Rankine vapor power cycle. The actual vapor power cycle is different from ideal Rankine cycle due to inherent reversibility. It is impossible to design pumps and turbines operating under reversible adiabatic conditions. Because a portion of work developed is utilized to overcome friction between working fluid and walls and between molecules of fluid itself. Further, heat losses from the steam to surroundings during its flow through various components cannot be neglected. Hence, efficiency of the cycle reduces. Figure shows a TS diagram illustrating the effect of turbine and pump irreversibility. In ideal Rankine cycle, the working substance leaves the turbine at condition 2 and the pump at condition 4. However, in actual practice, the working substance leaves the turbine at condition 2 dash and at pump at 4 dash. The isentropic efficiency for turbine pump is then defined as, for turbine, it is actual turbine work over isentropic turbine work, and it is given by H1 minus H2 dash over H1 minus H2. And for compression, it is given as isentropic pump work over actual pump work, and it is given by H4 minus H3 over H4 dash minus H3. Next, we see some of the characteristics of an ideal working fluid in vapor power cycles. The maximum temperature that can be used in steam cycles with the best available material is about 600 degrees Celsius, while the critical temperature of steam is 375 degrees Celsius, which necessitates large superheating and permits the addition of only an infinitesimal amount of heat at the highest temperature. We make use of a TS diagram for an ideal working fluid of a vapor power cycle, which represents a process with the initial condition of working substance as superheated starting at state condition 1, at which the temperature is 650 degrees Celsius and expands to 0.2, and condensation takes place to 3 and heating takes place from 4 to 1. And here, to identify the characteristics of an ideal working fluid, we are going to use a TS diagram of an ideal working fluid, which is working between two pressure limits, that is condenser pressure equal to 1.8 bar and boiler pressure equal to 10 bar, and the temperature limits are 40 degree and 620 degrees Celsius. The desirable characteristics of the working fluid in a vapor power cycle to obtain best thermal efficiency are as follows. We see one by one. The fluid should have a high critical temperature so that the saturation pressure at the maximum possible permissible temperature, that is metallurgical limit, is relatively low. It should have a large enthalpy of evaporation at that pressure. The saturation pressure at the temperature of heat rejection should be above atmospheric pressure so as to avoid the necessity of maintaining vacuum in the condenser. The specific heat of liquid should be small so that little heat transfer is required to rise the liquid to the boiling point. The saturation vapor line of TS diagram should be steep, very close to the turbine expansion process so that excessive moisture does not appear during expansion. The freezing point of the liquid should be below room temperature so that it does not get solidified while flowing through the pipelines. The fluid should chemically stable and should not contaminate the materials of the construction at any temperature. The fluid should be non-toxic, non-corrosive, not excessively viscous and low in cost. So, these are some of the desirable characteristics of working fluid to obtain best thermal efficiency of a Rankine vapor power cycle. And this is the end of session on Rankine vapor power cycle. Thank you very much. Please do subscribe to my channel BR Mech Academy.